I'm Megan Dolly, strategist, CFO, and your hostess. Today, we get to meet Susan Yeley. I've known Susan for a long time. Her curiosity and persistence played a huge role in opening my eyes to different approaches to meaningful numbers in design businesses. What I love about Susan isn't just her fashion sense, but also that she built a business that takes care of people. She genuinely loves her team and has always been intentional about creating a company that supports them, not just creatively, but financially and personally too. Through Susan Yeley Homes, she's created this thoughtful balance of art, heart, and structure. It's a place where design, numbers, and people all matter. Today, we're talking about how she's built the business that works, not just on paper, but for everyone involved. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you. You helped me make some pretty big and transformational decisions some years ago, so I've always been appreciative.
Okay, so we are going to drop into the structure of the business and then we'll get into the art part of it. So let's start with the science, the data. How long have you been in business?
This is our 10-year anniversary. Well, it's kind of our 20-year and 10-year anniversary. I incorporated 10 years ago as Susan Yeley Interiors. Now it's Susan Yeley Homes. About 20 years ago, we moved to Bloomington. I had three kids quickly in succession. The business started to grow from the moment we landed here because you wind up, I mean, I'm an extrovert, and so I wind up in lots of play groups and book groups, carving out a space for myself in a new town. My husband had a job, and I had a baby 3 weeks after we moved here, so I did not have a job. So I was seeking out all these relationships because I didn't want my whole social life to depend upon my husband and his primary relationships. As soon as you're in somebody's space with the babies, pretty quickly it's going to turn into, how about we think about your bookshelves? Hey, can you help me with my bedroom? It grew in this really privileged side sort of way. Pretty quickly, I needed some help and some people on the side, and it was a sole proprietorship. And then we were eventually, about 10 years ago, incorporated.
What does your staff look like?
We are all women, though that wasn't intentional. There are five of us. There were six until about 2 weeks ago, but one of them has moved on to another role without any, drama or tension, just a life shift. So the people that are left are a three-person design team. So myself, I'm trained in interior design. Another Susan also trained in interior design, an architect, a business manager who does all of the behind the scenes non-design things, and a procurement assistant. Actually, I want to start, I can do anything I want. So I'm going to change her to procurement manager. She manages vendor relationships and all the ingoing and outgoing product. She makes sure it's all there when we install, etc.
And these are all employees, not contractors.
They're all employees. Three of us are full-time, mostly by choice. They have younger kids and wanted to split their lives more evenly between family demands and work demands. My procurement manager and my business manager are part-time.
Okay. You all really enjoy each other's company.
We do. I let the universe reveal employees to me. That's my hiring approach.
For project size range, what's the smallest that you go and the largest that you go?
Officially speaking, we will only contract for a full reconceptualization of a single space. That might be one bathroom. In fact, we just wrapped up one bathroom. Or it might be a whole new build. We have a trained architect on our team. So we have built entire new homes or done gut remodels, like a 6,500 square foot home before you count the office ADU and the exterior pool patio. It ranges a lot. Every project begins with a 2-hour initial consultation. Folks can use me just for that too. It's like these expert services where I can come out if they say, I'm not up for a larger project, but I need some gut checking or I need some direction setting just in an isolated format, then we can also pinch hit in that way.
And your preferred pricing model, like a flat fee, how's that go for you?
Yeah, for many years now, we have done an hourly based on an estimate. We're pretty good at estimating at this point because I've been doing this a long time. An hourly fee for our services based on an estimate of projects plus a markup of product.
And is there a specific niche or style that you find yourself?
Yep. My niche is whoever you are. We like color, layers, and history. We don't like stark and trendy. I was going to say I don't like monochrome, but we just did a beautiful monochrome situation. It was layered with texture and different materials. We tried to take the client's desire for things to be very calming, neutral, and monochromatic and blend it the depth that we often get from pattern and color. Generally speaking, I don't like to put names on styles. I don't like to be pinned down to one style. My sister is a historical preservationist with textiles, actually. I am not a historical preservationist. I am creating homes for people right now for their needs. If they're in a historical home, we certainly want to honor that history and those bones and that stuff. We don't discard our histories. We don't discard our histories in our homes any more than we do in our persons, but we also live for what is right now. Our style is really very responsive to the space and the people that we're working for.
Let's talk about your future book because everything's a metaphor. My sister and I quote you all the time.
I've said this in so many contexts that somebody's going to get in front of me and write the book that I say I'm writing all the time.
Where'd that come from?
Your sister, write that book. I will be the first one to buy it and I will love it.
Yeah, it would just be these crazy conversations that we have in the middle of nowhere of everything's a metaphor.
I'm in for that. I didn't take a straight path to design work. I studied English, Spanish, world cultures, religion, and philosophy, and I loved it all. It turned out the jobs that are direct links to those types of humanities majors like me, what I thought that the most direct link is to be a professor and to do that all the time and teach and write, turned out not to have variety that I wanted and needed in the types of tasks that I was doing and the types of ways I was using my, not just my brain, but my body. So I did shift to design, but being so grounded in culture and language and thought, everything I do with design or in the gym or on a hike or with the kids or any old place, every time I turn around, I'm like, oh, that's a metaphor, right?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Never realized that. Now that,
Yeah.
okay. All right. That's going to come into play. I
Yeah.
just hear it already in my mind. So you were talking about structure and what was missing in that particular career path. And now, as an entrepreneur, structure, it's on you. How did you build this structure, discipline? What would you call it? And how did that come to be? What were the lessons there?
I don't know where I got this. Maybe it was growing up in a noisy family, but I am hyper focused and I can tune things out. It's probably a problem, but it feels like a strength in lots of ways because this building grew very gradually as my family grew. I have three children who are now 20, 18, and 15. That was such a privilege. I do have friends and family members who needed to build businesses when they were that were had parallel paths to mine, but they needed to make substantial income to pay their bills right away. We had structured our lives such that we did not assume I was going to be working because we had little kids and my husband had the job he really wanted at Indiana University. And so it was a very home-centered and in lots of ways child-focused lifestyle. I'm inherently very selfish. I really like to do my things. And the children would get going on their things, and I'd be like, oh, I'll just work on this other thing over here. This is my home studio now, which we built about 10 years ago, but I used to work out of a bedroom and there was a bookshelf with all my design books. I could get 2 hours of work done on a design project while she pulled all the books off the shelf and just like she was like 18 months old. So it has always been a very fluid relationship between home and work. In fact, for me, that's been a huge benefit of this role. You have to be disciplined. You have to be able to juggle, shift, pivot, and change on a dime and be present for both things, not be resentful of either work or home life intruding upon the other.
So
I guess it's a mindset to recognize the privilege and not let it get annoying.
yeah. Yeah. So with that natural talent for being able to focus, was that something you realized was different about you and was an asset, or were there times where it kind of like disappeared and you're like, oh, where'd that go? And now I need to get back to this thing.
Yeah. I guess I did realize in college when I lived with a lot of people in a sorority, when I get tired or hit a wall, I must stop. That might be at 9 p.m. and nobody's stopping or shutting down at 9 p.m. in a sorority. Honestly, I would just be like, I'm out and fall asleep. Then I could make myself get up at 2 a.m. if I needed to. It could essentially be a 2 hour nap in the middle of the night. So, yes, I realized that was unique and useful.
Was there
Phone
any
was
part of that
distracting me.
gift that you also took your natural talent for it and you made it better? Or you found places where it would fall away and you're like, okay, I need to get back to that. I need to hunker down.
No, I will say that fluidity between my family and home life and work, I have realized that it reinforces the work that I do to have it be so integrated with my home and my lifestyle and my family, because that's the important work that we do for our clients, of course, is create spaces for their lives to unfold and their family life to be at its best and at its most joyful and efficient and all those things. I have noticed that there is an overlap and a usefulness to that sort of happening on the regular around us. In fact, my employees have always brought their kids in. They don't necessarily all work here, they come and go, but they bring their children in. My business manager right now, her youngest is probably, I'm going to get this wrong, but I think he's about 8. I hired her when she was pregnant because she had called me for a consultation and I liked her. When I needed her, she was doing assistant type of work. I called her to see if she was interested in the job that had materialized for me. And she said, I mean, yes, but I'm having a baby in however many months. And I said, that's fine. Just bring the baby. It's been a real privilege. That's been a real privilege to have these kids grow up here. It feels feminist for the children to see their moms working and doing something meaningful, for the kids to grow up where the moms are doing something that is not about them, but parallel to them.
Tell me about when you realized it was time to hire. You brought on that first employee, the emotions that came along with it, the fears, the excitement.
Gosh, it was mostly relief. I was pretty aware that what I couldn't do or what I didn't want to do was the numbers. This is why I reached out to you some years ago, too. My first employee was an accountant, bookkeeper. She eventually moved on to a full-time job, but she was great to get me on Quicken back in the day and get me set up with some processes and some understanding of best practices. After that, I hired a design assistant. Those were my first 2 hires, and they were great. I wasn't at all afraid of giving up work. I've never been a person who wants to do it all myself, partly because I am an extrovert. I am a galvanizer of people at my best. So actually bringing people on for me is both more fun and more efficient. So it was great when I was able to do that.
In the world of meeting, hiring, and finding clients, you said that when you started out your path as an extrovert, meeting people, going to their homes and helping them out with what they needed, has anything shifted? I feel like going out into the world can be more difficult these days. Making friends, saying hi, doing the thing.
Mm.
Maybe that's just me as an introvert finding an excuse not to go meet strangers. But has anything shifted in the last 20 years in how you find business?
Sure. It's harder to make friends when your kids aren't small, when you're not in
Mm.
some sort of institution like a big company or a university setting or a high school setting, when you're not regularly around other people. You and I working in a somewhat isolated way really can reinforce isolation. I tend to need a lot of people in my life and lots of different kinds of relationships, different people for different seasons. Or if not for different seasons, for different kinds of things that I want to do. You know, these friends are hiking friends, and these friends are yoga friends, and these friends are kid friends, right? Or design friends, which is AKA my staff. They're my design friends. Part of the joy of this work is the relationships. For example, we finished a new build in January for some folks moving here. They moved in May and they're approximately my age. Their kids are about my kids' ages. They're not just hanging out at pickup at the elementary school or going to play dates like we used to do. They are finding themselves in a new community, having to make new friendships. So I've said, come along, come to the tailgate, come to my yoga class with me. And that relationship has really blossomed and grown out of this work we do. I've set myself up with a job with a constant incoming of new friends.
Fringe benefit. We do bonfires, a bonfire vibe. Come on out. Text them out. The connections like, oh, this is a friend from high school that just moved back to town. This is Peggy. She and I have been together forever. This is a friend from when Nora was in daycare 20 years ago. Across the bonfire, people finding those common connections.
I've been thinking about doing a women's salon, like the kind from, I don't know when that was, like the early
Yeah.
1900s, where I just invite people from all different parts of my life and provide a venue in which they share revolutionary ideas.
Can I come?
Mhm.
We'll talk about women who run
Well,
with
you and
us.
your sister are some of these new friends that have come to me by virtue of this work. I love you guys. I wouldn't
Oh,
be
we
here
love you.
chatting with you if I didn't feel like, yeah, Megan, I'll do that for you for sure. I really like chatting with you. If I go up to South Dakota, I'm definitely calling you.
I'm coming through. Sure, let's go. When it comes to business, it's been is 20 years. There's ups and downs. Do you remember the first time, or if it was ever scary? You play that what if game in the future and I don't know what's coming.
I think it's when I reached out to you when I saw the need to hire my previously part-time employees to put them full-time on a salaried payroll. Before, when we had only part-time hourly employees, if the work didn't come, you didn't have an expense of a human being. Everybody knew that and had other irons in the fire and didn't need a full-time situation to pay their bills and support their lifestyle. I saw a need for consistent work and commitment from my employees, and I knew that meant I needed to make a commitment to them. Even if I don't get the work, I can't pay these people and they can't support their families. That was a big moment. That's why I reached out to you because I was like, can I do this? Can I make it in good faith such that they can trust me to uphold it? It's been really rewarding. And so
Mhm.
far, we've been able to do that since I did that.
I also remember that being a time where you had an employee that needed to be away from the business for a while, a very valuable employee. You wanted to support them while they were gone, and that was just like,
She was only an employee like a year before she needed medical leave or any, it wasn't even medical leave, it was like medical leeway because she didn't want to not work. She kind of felt like the work would be a useful distraction when she could do it. She didn't want to be furloughed or take a break. So we switched her from full time to hourly for a short period of time. How can you possibly leave somebody when they're at their worst moment? You can't just be like, oh, gosh, that sucks. Good luck with that. Plus,
this,
we live in a small town. There's not a lot of design talent out there. And as I told you, I let the universe reveal employees to me. The universe had revealed her to me. So it felt like I needed to stick with her.
that experience of getting to work with you was almost like a reaffirmation. I had this growing chip on my shoulder of these businesses that were in it for the money. If I have to cut an employee, that's fine. That means I get to survive.
Harsh. I mean, that is a harsh reality. The survival of the business is of foremost concern, of course. If I cut one person, I can keep four others. There is that we do want the company to survive, but I feel like it's more, can we all together figure out a way to get scrappy or cut back a little such that we can all survive here and
Yeah.
thrive?
Yeah, it was like this glass of ice cold, crystal clear water in this dusty desert. There are people like this in the world. This is the type of person I want to serve. This is the type of business I want to help build. It was very affirming, something I didn't know I needed to see so badly. That was
Well,
awesome.
I'm glad you gave me that with the numbers, which is something I don't want to do. I'm not very good at it. So you really supported me being able to do that. It was invaluable.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't ask you for that. I just wanted people to know it's sweet. It's so sweet.
That's very sweet. Hey, Susan, if you could throw in at least 3 to 5 compliments, that would be great.
Okay, so how is it that you foster your instincts, your intuition, and your style?
I guess the theme of this interview is the integration of life and work. I have come to realize that working out, yoga, or a hike, something physical, you have to sort of siphon off time for in a
Mhm.
very deliberate way when life gets busy. I never feel that the hour I give to a yoga class equates to an hour of my day because the hour I give to a yoga class makes me more efficient, productive, and joyful in the 6 hours that come in my workday after that. Giving an hour doesn't really mean taking away an hour. That translates into all kinds of things, taking time away to travel or be with family intentionally or be in nature or cook dinner. If you can find a presence in that, it's not a taking away, reinforcing and reviving your energies at work. It certainly makes me more creative. Anytime you can infuse joy, the output is much more joyful. Anytime I sort of pivot away from this space or this work insofar as I can be present in whatever else I'm doing adds to the effectiveness of what I do here.
Your designs are so joyful. They exude sophistication yet tweak normalcy.
It's joyful work. As my first employer in design used to say, nobody's going to die over a sofa. This is exceptionally joyful. We have to say it again and again, privileged work. If it didn't feel joyful in the end, what a shame.
Do you ever encounter with your designs people who can't quite see the full vision yet? That's pattern. How do you approach that?
It's the same way you approach that with children. When you're telling them that they have to do this one thing and they don't want to do this one thing, and you have a much bigger picture of why they must do this one thing. So there's a whole lot of contextualizing and reassuring and giving of information that they don't have. Just like your children, you don't do this or you do this because of this larger thing that's going on in the world and in society and in a moral life, right? So you've just got to communicate it. You've just got to do your best to speak to your audience.
I love that. I love that. And so, what is next for Susan Yeley Designs? What's next for Susan Yeley Homes?
We've been on a trajectory since COVID. We feel like we've been reaching for several years beyond this place to stretch ourselves both artistically and as a force for good in the world. We work for the 1%. I don't know if we're the 1%, but my house is not as good as my clients' houses. It's a whole structure of privilege, what we do. So we would really love to deliberately give back to allow people who don't have this level of privilege to live in one of our homes or do this kind of work to also feel the impacts of a well-designed home, because we know that neuroaesthetically, it makes your life better in every way. It makes your relationships better. It makes your productivity better. The people who struggle the most would benefit from having a home that really is well designed. That's a place I would really like to, especially I'm almost 49, as I'm looking at 50, I would like to lean into the art we do, which means higher budgets and more comprehensive projects. And at the same time, bring the art to underserved and underprivileged communities and human beings. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but we're always holding those two desires.
Yeah, that's great. I'd love for you to shout out some people, designers, artists that inspire you.
I would love to do that. It's one of my favorite things to do. So you're near Minnesota, of course, and your sister's in Minnesota. Minnesota has some great designers. For a long time, we followed Prospect Home in Minneapolis. I just discovered a new one, Heather. I'm reading my notes because I knew you were going to ask this question. Our project management software, we have a thread called Designers We Love, where any one of us that comes across someone new, we put them in the list and we share images and log it so we can be inspired on the regular. One I just added was Heather Peterson, who's also in Minnesota. She's great. I was not aware of her before. Robbins Architecture out of Chicago does beautiful work. They are a team. I really respect teams that have both architects and interior designers. It is crucial that those two types of brains are working very closely together on a project. Robbins Architecture does beautiful work and has both architects and interior designers. I love Wreath Design, who are explain. Wreath Design has a line at West Elm, but I am an old fan of Wreath Design in California. As I was looking through our list, a couple of designers have inspired me for many years. Their explicit desire to give back and replenish the resources that it inherently takes to build homes, to remodel homes, to furnish homes are Jessica Helgerson. She's out of Portland and also Paris. Now she has an office in Paris. She founded the 1% Project, which is for designers to give 1% of the construction cost back to nonprofits. And it's a goal of mine. I've set something up on my website. It's not there right now, but if you hire us for a consultation, starting soon, it costs $650 for that 2-hour consultation that I do. And we have different organizations locally that are providing housing for people who struggle to find safe, secure housing so that you can opt in to donate to one of those organizations 10% of your consultation fee, and we will match that. Jessica Helgerson has been a source of inspiration for that. Also, Zoe Feldman out of New York City. She also has long had a very explicit giving back to the earth principle, very well articulated on her website. They do beautiful work as well. I've been inspired by their sense of responsibility to the world around them and the people around them.
Wonderful.
I could go
Wonderful.
on and on, but those ones were the ones that came to mind. Yeah.
Oh, Susan, this was such a delight. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your presence, your candor, and your heart.
Oh, what a privilege. I'm always pleased to get some time with you.
Thanks for listening to Why My Business Works. I hope you found some ideas to chew on, perspectives that give you a boost and a little shot of courage to do things your own way. Until next time, I'm Megan Dolly, and I'm rooting for you.